There's an old saying that all politics is local, and if you live in Rockwall County, you just saw this become a reality as two cities have new mayors and city council members. Is this a good thing or a bad thing? Well, it's that time again, Rockwall County. It's time for some straight talk. I'm Bunker Bob Steinhagen, and this is The Bunker Bob Show. Greetings, thrill seekers, music lovers, conversationalists from across the fruited plains of the great state of Texas. I am your host, Bunker Bob Steinhagen, bringing you an hour of unfiltered, unadulterated, and unapologetic conservatism to help make Texas and America great again. And I'm grateful to have you watching today on the Bunker Cam via Rumble, YouTube, or Facebook. And welcome my podcast listeners who are out there walking, driving in their cars, or wherever they're listening via Spreaker, Spotify, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, Deezer, iHeartRadio, Podchaser, or Podcast Addict. And today's show, I have a special guest who should be no stranger to my audience, and that, of course, is Dennis London. Dennis, you and I have color coordinated for this show today. And it was funny when we saw each other and said, okay, everybody's going to think we set this up, but maybe it's an homage to my alma mater. And okay, you kissing some butt here. That's great. Okay, but seriously, Dennis, it's great to be back together again. And this time, Dennis and I have talked about him doing more shows with me. Gary Freeman is going to be doing some shows with me as well. But Dennis and I have are kindred spirits in a lot of ways, and I think that we have a lot, I think, to bring to you and to make that'll I think make a difference in what we're doing here. So, Dennis, thank you for being here.
Appreciate you having me. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you've had a lot of ups and downs. Obviously, you ran for state rep twice, and this last time, I'll just say it. I mean, I think you got a little bit blindsided, and you don't have to agree or disagree, but you worked very hard, and you've been very intentional about showing everyone your conservative credentials, and yes. And I think people really do appreciate what you have kind of brought to the table, and you have brought conservatism to the table. And
thank you.
I think obviously we're both supporting Katrina, but I think there's a lot of potential for the future, as we'll say, and so this ain't over. And I think that anyway, we'll leave it at that. But ultimately, I appreciate what you're doing for our party. One of the great things that, and we'll be talking about this a little bit today, maybe if we have time. But one of the things that Dennis has the honor and the privilege to represent our Senate district on the platform committee at the State Republican Convention coming up in just a couple of weeks here, and that's a huge responsibility.
Yes, sir.
And I can't think of anyone that I would rather see on that committee than you. And that I really think you are certainly going to represent us well. So thank you for being willing to do that.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Well, because I've always said it's not about me.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it isn't. When I ran the campaigns, it's not about me. And I kept telling people, I'm not doing this for me. I'm doing this for we, because it is about we the people.
Absolutely. Absolutely, and so I think that there's a lot to be said for that, and I wanted to start the show by kind of focusing on recent local elections, and one of the things that I think is important is since both Dennis and I live in McClendon Chisholm, this is kind of our home, and so kind of wanted to start there if we can. And talk about the McClendon Chisholm races for mayor and for city council, specifically place 4 in this context. But let's first talk about Brian McNeil, and he was just elected not by a small margin at all. I mean, overwhelming.
Yes.
let's talk about why do you think Brian got so much support?
I think it's, just first and foremost, it's good old-fashioned shoe leather. I mean, if you think about how he ran his campaign, he was knocking doors all the time. And it was almost like a team. Both he and Jerry Brewer would get together and they would go walk in the communities. And Brian, I had a conversation with him about this, and I asked him. I said, "Well, Brian, so what do you do? What's your goal?" And he goes, "I want to talk to 10 people. I want 10 doors open every single day." So when he's knocking doors, it doesn't matter if he knocks 10 doors and all 10 open, or if he knocks 100 doors and only 10 doors open. His goal is 10 open doors and conversations. And that was a phenomenal goal. And you can see it worked. He got out there, he knocked on the doors, he met people for coffee, he met them for, he doesn't really drink. So, he would meet them and they would be like, "Hey, let's go have a beer." So he would meet them at Siren Rock or other places, right? And he would stand there, or sit there, and they would have their conversations and they would talk, and he would address their concerns, and he did that person to person, sometimes person to group, but it's the old-fashioned way of doing it. And I mean, we can talk about the mailers.
Yeah, let's talk about the mailers, because let's first talk about let's show all of Brian's mailers.
Well, that was quick.
That was quick. He broke a lot of rules in this race, didn't he?
He did.
Yeah.
He did. No mailers.
No mailers.
No text campaigns.
Yep.
No email campaigns.
No TV.
Did
nothing.
some social media.
Yeah. Right. Well, he had a Facebook page,
Right.
yes,
Right.
that he kept up, but there was nothing pushed in people's face. You have to actually go to Brian's site to see what he had to say.
Yeah. He didn't invade your home.
Yeah. Yeah. And which is interesting, because Adrienne Balcom is, known for her social media savvy, and Adrienne and I have been friends for, a long time.
Sure.
A long time. And, I have been one of the biggest Adrienne Balcom fans for years. And it wasn't until, I guess, a year or so ago that things started to change in our relationship. And it wasn't, it had everything to do with water, with developments, with things that it just became very clear that she wasn't the same person as far as her politics are concerned. I think it was Scott Turnbull and I had the last conversation I had with Scott Turnbull, who passed away. Last conversation I had with Scott Turnbull, he emailed me something about that Adrienne had something going on, and she had some information, but she wasn't telling him what it was, and so I gave him a call, and anytime I talked with Scott, who I called the Doctor of Finance, anytime I talked to Scott, it was usually an hour and a half to 2.5 hour conversations. He could not for the life of him figure out what was going on with Adrienne, because when you have information, I mean, open transparency, having transparency, so important. And we were friends, you know, and Adrienne said, "Oh, she has all of this information. It was about water. She has some, and she just can't tell us." And Scott and I were just baffled.
She had that notebook.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
so
that
what
water
was
notebook,
that? What was that?
I don't know. Apparently, she has this super secret water notebook that she wouldn't share any information with anybody with. And I mean, even other council members, unless you were part of the water committee. If you're part of the water committee, she would divulge some information, not all. And that way you'd be in the loop, at least, on what is happening with water. But other than that, nobody knew what was in it. Nobody. And I honestly, I think that, during this transition with McNeil coming in and her going out, she needs to turn that over, because that has city records, or at least information for the city that's pertinent to the water issues. So that means, in my opinion, whether or not the law follows suit with it, she needs to turn that over. That needs to be part of the office transition.
Yeah.
And I know that she's just mayor pro tem, but still she's a council member. So
absolutely,
that needs to stay with the council, because that information, it's just like anything that you would have in any legal discovery.
No, absolutely. And I can't imagine that she would. So it really, it kind of baffled all of us, those of us who have known her and have appreciated her and have been. I mean, I could not be a bigger fan. And ironically, this when this race occurred and stuff, I basically told Brian, I said, man, there are some people who have signs in their yards who absolutely hate my guts. I would. It's up to you,
right?
But I'm glad to put a sign in my yard. But I'm afraid that there are people who would see that and go, wait a minute, I don't want to hurt your campaign,
right?
And we turned out I didn't put a sign in my yard.
Right.
And if people asked me who I was voting for, I'd tell them Brian McNeil. I didn't say anything. I did no shows on the city council race. In fact, since I lost that city council race, I told Dan Tucker, I said, you will not hear anything from me. The people have spoken. They want you to represent them, not me. So I am not going to, and so I haven't done a show on McClendon-Chisholm. I haven't done anything since that race. And that includes sticking my neck in this race as well.
Right.
So for what it's, I didn't want to hurt Brian's chances.
Well, but, I don't think it would have really.
You don't think?
There are people, and we heard this at the polls because, I spent time at the polls for Brian. I was out at the library standing there, and, I got to have great conversations with Ed Conger, with Grant Dubois, and some of those folks. And, because I was out there. And then as we got closer to actual election day, I started meeting up with Brian and Jerry, and they had a big crew over at McClendon-Chisholm City Hall. And but I would hear people come up and say, hey, Brian, don't worry about it. Even though I have an Adrian sign, I'm voting for you.
Wow.
And Brian's like, well, I appreciate that, but can I ask why?
Yeah.
And because they didn't want the wrath of Miss Balcom. Because she would, if all of a sudden the sign was switched, there were some people that said that she would come up, knock on the door, and go, what's up with this?
Yeah, yeah.
And, I mean, having run in, a big area as the district, you don't do that.
Yeah.
I mean, if somebody has your opponent's yard sign or whatever, you can go up and you can talk to them, maybe try to persuade them, but you don't challenge them on it. Not at their house.
Right, right.
You want to win them over at a forum, win them over at a debate, win them over at a house meeting. Maybe you get put out a video on a specific topic, right? Or you have a discussion or something. Win them over that way. Don't go up and directly confront them. I think that really hurt her in the long run because she really did turn some people off with that.
Yeah, I can't speak to it because I don't know any of that, but I know that
I'm only speaking to it because I had people come up and tell me and tell Brian and tell Jerry and other people at the polls.
Yeah,
this is why.
Yeah,
and there was one lady. Granted, she comes up to Brian after she walks out of City Hall, and she goes, "I'm going to tell you why I voted for her."
Okay.
And he was like, "Okay." Because one of your supporters attacked her. And he sat there and went, so all the people and even her attacking my daughter, my wife, me, that has no reference.
That's Brian talking.
Yeah, that's Brian. Uh-huh. And this lady was like, well, they attacked her personally. And he was like, okay.
Is this the Sonic thing?
No.
Okay.
No, I have no idea what specifically she was talking about. I was on the other side of the group when she did that, but I heard her when she came up and said that, and I'm like, I'm going to walk away. Because, but that was really weird that somebody would, take that strong of a stance on something like that.
And Brian never attacked.
No.
To be clear, never said a cross word. No. During this campaign, so far as he's told me, and as far as and if there's evidence out there to the contrary, then by all means bring it forward. But so the other thing, and so the thing that really frustrates me is that I tried to get Dennis's posting. He posted on YouTube or Facebook. Congratulations to Brian McNeil and to Jerry Brewer, and for the life of me, we could not get it to pull in. And as much I love technology, but I also hate it. So unfortunately, we didn't hear it. But you said some things in that congratulations to Brian that I thought I wanted to kind of talk about. Sure. One of the things are these. These mailers. These are 6 mailers.
Right.
And so what you said something about the voter guide. Here is the voter guide, and I can give we can take a closer look at that. But this is the voter guide, and so talk about this.
Well, I think it's pretty funny that it starts off with "We started the McClendon-Chisholm voter guide." Who's we? You know, I can't think of who we is because it wasn't passed out and passed amongst anybody in McClendon-Chisholm.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, all right. So let's dig a little deeper, and so here's the this I have to do everything kind of backward.
PAC?
Okay, there we go.
Texas Conservative Project PAC. It was started in January.
Yep.
Funded by Tim Dunn, Ferris Wilks.
Okay.
All right, same guys.
Very conservative.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, and I think my phone went to sleep, but I don't know if you. Oh, come on now. I'll show you, and then you can talk about it to people.
Okay.
So this was the message I sent to Tim Dunn, and if you want to read it, you can.
Sure. You want me to read it?
This is on LinkedIn. Yeah.
Okay. Dennis. This is from him?
No, this is from me to him.
Okay. Not sure. This is Dennis Lennon. Not sure who you have working with the campaigns in Rockwall County, especially the mayoral race in McClendon-Chisholm. But the PACs are tied. You are tied to or backing the wrong candidate, and even have mailers with one candidate who has withdrawn. And that'd
be Trudy.
That'd be Trudy. Yeah,
right.
Trudy Westner. Let's try to get that.
And she didn't officially withdraw, but she put it out on Facebook and told everybody to vote for Jerry.
Yeah.
You know, because there were some issues, in the family, and I wish that she and everybody that are involved that it resolves and works out for the better. I don't know what it is, and it's not my place to go there, but yeah. So then afterwards, I sent him the results.
Yeah.
and needless to say, I haven't heard anything yet. So.
Well, it is interesting. So, I mean, Adrian has been helping Katrina a great deal. Katrina lives in Sonoma Verde.
Mm-hmm.
We all, irony of all ironies, we all live in the same city, and Katrina and Adrian work or live in the same neighborhood. Mm-hmm. Adrian is doing great work for Trudy, helping her immensely. And I think that, is it possible, I'm just asking here, is it possible that Katrina kind of threw Adrian a bone and asked these guys, Mr. Dunn and
Wilks,
Tim
Dunn and Ferris Wilks.
They throw because a mailing for state rep, I mean, is going to cost. You could do 6 mailings for what it would cost to do one for a state rep race. So you think that's what happened? I'm asking you to speculate. I realize
speculation and guessing. I have no idea. I really don't think so.
Okay.
Excuse me. I have an idea that due to some of the people who are at Katrina events, that perhaps Adrian may have spoken with somebody there who has a connection to, any of those PACs or any of those organizations, and that may have happened. I don't know. Again, that's just speculation.
No, it's speculation.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah,
but
I don't think that Katrina would do that because she's focused on her race. I've had conversations with her. And she is 100% focused on her race with Holland. Yep. And whatever she can do to claim victory in this upcoming runoff. Yeah,
and so Adrian got the endorsements of some RISD people who are on the RISD board and the mayor of McClendon, the current mayor of McClendon-Chisholm, Keith Short, who is, like you and Brian, a Marine, served his country honorably. I have very little good to say about him, but that is the case. And here's what really caught my eye. This was this. Let me see. I still have it up. So this is this mailer right here. This one was the one that kind of Sorry. Let's. There we go. This is the image you have is the mayor and the fire chief.
Yeah. So I talked to Chief Simmons. He actually didn't give permission for that.
Okay. That's That's something that should never happen ever. You don't a person who is paid by taxpayers, who is a member of should never have that. But that this is the same PAC. These are all by the same PAC. They also threw this this one. This is the when McLennan Chisholm, water crisis, Brian McNeil has done nothing to fix the problem, and a puppet of the failed water supply company. Do you want another water crisis?
So, this one is funnier than all get out for a few reasons. So first off, Brian in a suit. Anybody who knows Brian,
that's a good point.
Anyone who knows Brian knows that is not going to happen.
That is classic. Yeah, you won't see Brian in a suit.
No,
that's so true.
Well, and then the other part is, saying that he's done nothing to fix the water issue, but yet he's the only one on the board that really challenged Adrian on the water issues.
Yes.
He's the one that wanted to fix it and got shut down.
Yep.
Not Floyd. I mean, Paul turned around and Dan turned around, but originally they were like, no, we're doing this. But they turned around. But, Floyd and Balcom, they were lockstep.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I just sat there and I was just like, whoever put this out, they have no idea who Brian is. They really weren't paying attention.
Let's talk about the water then. So a lot has changed with the water issue. So it was, we were all told that if the city of McLennan Chisholm doesn't get in the water business, that RCH, letting RCH continue to control it is right. So we'll never be a direct customer of our North Texas Municipal Water. Give us the update on what's actually transpired.
Well, they got the direct connect. They're now a direct customer of North Texas Municipal Water District. Mm-hmm. They're going to have everything that, was said wouldn't happen. It's happening. They got all the approvals. Everything's set and done. And, we could have had some relief last year. There was an emergency intertie that was going to have a connection with Blackland. That was passed in August. And Senator Hall actually stepped in to help with that.
Oh, wow.
And, I guess he pulled some strings or whatever, made some things happen, but got that connection approved and everything was getting ready to go. And for some reason, Adrian goes and meets with Blackland, and within a few days, they back out of the agreement.
Wow.
So, yeah, we could have had some water relief there, but, that's something that people are sitting there going, well, what happened? What happened?
And we still don't know what happened.
We still don't know what happened. We don't know in those conversations. And here's the thing that really, got under my skin was that you would have somebody from a city council who would go and meet with developers or other water districts or engineers from, it doesn't matter even if it's adjacent cities or wherever. One person would go and meet with these people under an official capacity and have discussions with them alone. You wouldn't take another council member with you. You wouldn't take anybody else with you. That not only is foolish for you, but it's foolish for the city, because then let's say you're talking to a developer, right? And you know this. You've been there. You understand
this. Yes.
The ramifications can come about as I go and I meet with developer whomever, and then I leave there and nothing was agreed to, right?
Right.
Right. And so I go back and I go, well, we didn't agree on anything. But all of a sudden the developer says, no, you agreed to give us this. You agreed to this. And you're like, no, I didn't. They go, yes, you did. We have 4 people who were in that meeting who all agreed. Who do you have? You got nobody. Unless you were recording it.
Yeah. Well, I don't mean it to be overly dramatic, but I do think that we dodged a bullet. With this election. And I think Brian McNeil, I think, just full transparency, I think if Brian were to ever ask me my advice, what I would tell him is you don't need to take advice from me, first of all, but I can tell you several things that I did that I wish I hadn't have done, that I think Brian is going to do a much better job of building bridges. I didn't build bridges. I didn't try to build bridges. And Brian, I think, is really committed to to that kind of mentality of openness and transparency, as I was when I was on council and mayor, but in a way that invites those who may be in opposition, things that I didn't do. I think Brian has the ability, number one, to hold to the conviction of his beliefs,
Yes,
and represent us well, but also make sure that the citizens are well informed. And I think he's got some breakfast weekly. He's going to do some
Mondays with the mayor.
Mondays with the mayor. Okay,
Right.
yeah.
Now he's going to do that at 5013 over in Heath, and I was like, wouldn't it be nice if we had a coffee shop here in McLean and Chisholm? You could do that.
Yeah.
And so I was thinking first, I'm like, well, maybe you could move it over to Country Store, but I don't think Country Store would. I mean, first off, the parking for there, unfortunately, it's really small, and if more than 6 people show up, then they're parking across the street or down or whatever. Yeah. I'd still say that he should, at least go and have a meeting there, go do something there, because it is a McClendon Chisholm location, right?
Yeah.
Do something like that.
Right.
But 5013 out in Heath, it's a great patriotic store, great location.
Okay.
So that'll be great. That's Mondays with the mayor. He's going to do that. And then he's going to do, I think it's the first Saturday at Sonic.
First Saturday at Sonic. Okay.
Yeah.
Every first Saturday at Sonic.
I think that's it. But we can reach out to him for clarification.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. But he wants to maintain that. And the other thing that he's going to do, and we talked about this, he said he was going to reach out to the different communities, Sonoma Verde, Brushy Creek, Austin Corners, all these different areas, and say, I want 1 or 2 representatives from your HOA or from your community to come in at least, I don't know if it's going to be monthly or quarterly, but to come in and talk about what's happening in the community.
Yeah.
That way you have a true community presence. And when he started talking about this, I got to tell you, I was so excited because we have all of these little communities, right? We're only 5,000 people.
Right.
Right? I mean, what is it? It's 3,100 homes or 3,400 homes?
Something like that.
Something like that here.
Yep.
Registered voters, we were 3,000. Well, I actually have the number. We were.
Yeah, how many registered voters?
Registered voters, where'd it go? 3,145 registered voters.
Okay.
Which, if you think about it, 919 people voted in this municipal election.
That's a pretty good representation.
I mean, in 2023, we had 518, 2021, 414, 2019, 605, 2018, 628.
Yeah.
I mean, this right here, nearly 30%, 29.2%, this is unheard of.
Yeah, it is. It is.
And people, the more people that I've talked to about it, they're just like, well, there was so much at stake. And
yeah.
They're absolutely right.
Yeah, they are.
And with everything that's been happening for not just water, right, but the rest of our infrastructure.
Oh, yeah.
I'm
the development that's going on.
Well, and my history in information technology also includes telecommunications. All right. So when I talk to people about our telecommunications infrastructure, our mobile antennas, our cellular towers, they're saturated.
Oh, okay.
You ever wonder why you're driving down, you got 5 bars and your call drops?
Yeah.
It's saturated. When you're jumping from one tower to the next and it can't take that new connection, or it kind of gets it and then you hear the echo and then all of a sudden it's static drop, or just drops altogether, that tower is saturated. This is a cellular issue at the tower level. They didn't build it for the appropriate number of connections that are required. So that's one of the things we're faced with. We have way too many devices, way too much data trying to go through. We have too many cars on our roads. Our roads aren't capable. I mean, anybody want to argue this? Anybody?
No.
Anybody want to have a discussion about this?
None here. Yes.
I mean, and if you do, let's meet on 205 at about, 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Almost any given day now.
Yeah.
It's Saturday or
it's
Sunday.
Crazy. It is. It really
Especially
is.
since the 7-Eleven went in.
Yeah.
Because now that light, they put the timing on that light for there. I was just like, you've got to be kidding me. So coming from 549 southbound on 205, you get to that light and it's kind of a roll of the dice, whether it's green or red. And if there's anybody coming cross traffic or what have you, I was like, oh, man.
And that's a state highway. It's not a county.
It is.
So there's not a lot that the county can do about it.
We can't call up Judge New and go, hey.
Yeah.
No, he's going to be like, call the state.
Yeah.
TxDOT. That's who we need to go to.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think there's, a lot of good things. I think Brian I have no idea if we agree, if he and I agree on everything, but I certainly think that.
Well, you and I don't even agree on everything.
Exactly. And that's important.
Exactly.
That's the way it should be, right? I mean, so why can't we have disagreements respectfully? But we can't anymore. So instead we get this kind of nonsense that's pushed in our face that is not full of untruths. But anyway, it is what it is. So looking forward to having Brian McNeil. The thing I think about is how many times Brian McNeil's voice was just shut down during city council meetings.
Yep.
He was just pushed aside. He was ridiculed. He was castigated. And you have and the mayor, a fellow Marine, supported Adrian. That's not going to happen anymore. But I think that Brian is a guy of character. I don't think that he's trying to hold any grudges. There's no revenge type things. But I do think that some changes obviously need to happen, and I hope that they will.
Well, and the growth with the city, I mean, we're growing.
Oh, yeah. You can't stop it, yeah.
You can slow it. You can try to control it. You can do what you can. Right. And I think that was one of the main election pieces, or at least part of his campaign for Jerry Brewer.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, assistant police chief and interim police chief for a few years up in Lubbock.
Yep.
He'd been there for 30 plus years.
Yep.
And Jerry, he's my neighbor. I've had lots of conversations with him, and he was there when Lubbock was growing.
Yeah.
And a lot of those small towns and everything. They had a lot of growth pain, but he's lived through it.
Yeah.
And he's been in charge of a lot of great things and a lot of great opportunities while he was there. So I'm really looking forward to the experience that he's going to bring to the council, especially as we're growing and we're going to need that been there, done that perspective.
Absolutely. And so. These are the two knuckleheads right there. That's your new mayor, and that is Mr. Brewer, who is going to be serving us on the council. One of the things, and I did. Yeah, and I think that Mr. Brewer, I think, like you said, he brings a perspective that I think is important as we move forward to our city. I've never met him. I haven't talked to him. Never met him. But he and Brian kind of ran together a lot. It was interesting, isn't it, that Trudy Westner was on the ballot, but apparently she had withdrawn from the race. Mm-hmm. What I found even more interesting that even though they had withdrawn from the race. So here's that race. When you look at the percentage, I mean, Trudy Westner got more votes, and she wasn't running than Adrian.
No, they got the same number of votes, but Trudy got a higher percentage.
Oh, you're right. You're right. The same number. They sure did. You're right.
That's an interesting thing if you look at it. 180 and 180.
Yeah.
One was knocking doors and 6 mailers and text campaigns and the streaming media advertisements and all that stuff. And the other one basically said, "I'm not running, vote for my opponent," and they got the same number of votes.
That is classic, and so that's what we have, and then we had a couple of uncontested races. Paul Day, great guy.
Very factual. He loves data.
Man, he does. He's a wonk, if you will. He's a professor. So anytime you have a conversation with Paul, it's
get ready.
Yeah, get ready.
Yeah.
He reminds me a little bit of Scott Turnbull in the fact that he likes to get in the weeds, and that's what you need.
That though.
You do need
absolutely.
That. Absolutely.
Someone who's going to look at the data.
Yes.
Take emotion and put it aside.
Right. Exactly.
Right? It's about the data.
Yes.
And then take that data and make a decision based on fact.
Well, even more than that, it's not just about the data. It's about what is true. Because I mean, everyone says, "Well, look at the science, and you're saying, and the people who are saying, "Look at the science," are saying, "Yeah, a man can be a woman." And so we're all kind of going, "What?" So Paul is one of those guys that goes, "Yeah, a man cannot be a woman." I mean, he's kind of one of those crazy people who actually looks at the evidence and facts and actually moves in that direction.
Yeah.
So that's good.
Yep.
The other person who is who is uncontested was Michael Easter, another open seat. And so I don't know anything about Michael except for what he posted on Facebook. And he basically said, here's why I'm running and things. So one of the things, so he has his agenda for the city. The first one, and I told you I was going to talk about it before we came on. I said, I don't know where you stand on this, but I'm just telling you, I'm not a guy who likes the idea of home rule. So where are you on home rule?
I like home rule.
You do. Tell me why you like it.
I like the ability for a city to be able to, have their charter dictated around what the citizens want, as opposed to what's coming down from the county.
Give me an example of that. What is it specifically? Because I'm against it.
I'll give you one. Recall capabilities.
Okay.
All right. Only in a home rule will you be able to do a recall of your local elected.
Yeah, but but members of city council are elected for 2-year terms. So you want to recall someone?
But if somebody is out there doing something really bad, and it's the beginning of their term,
yeah,
right, or even midway through, you want, let's stop this. Let's get them out.
Okay, I'll tell you, I'm not a big fan of that.
Sure.
For the reason is because of all of the time and attention it takes away from actually doing something. You have one vote, one person on the council. Let's say it's the mayor who's doing something. He's off the walls. The mayor doesn't vote.
Right.
Or let's say it's a member of city council. They're one of 5 votes. My concern with home rule is all home rule does is it grows your government, because now you have a city manager. So instead of the city council managing the city, now you have a person managing the city, and they basically act like a board of directors, but the city manager gets to make all of the decisions. I don't like that.
Okay, I can see that.
Yeah. So and maybe Mr. Easter has a different perspective, or maybe he can add something to it. I would like for us to talk about it. I hope Mr. Easter isn't just bound and determined on that, but
and excuse me, having those discussions, and that's going to be a big discussion, because if a charter is brought up, right, it's going to be voted on by the citizens.
It is.
So it's going to have to be something that's going to be debated.
Yes.
It's going to have to be discussed, and we're going to have those conversations.
Yes.
There will probably be some mailers.
Yes. No.
Right. But
developers love home rule.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. That's the other problem that I have is they're gonna send this kind of stuff that doesn't speak for the people. So, but yeah, so recall. Is there anything else that you can think of that?
I mean, I'm just thinking of, that was one of the main issues for me was, that we had that ability, but ultimately being able to keep that control within the city government of, the city's run by our city government. Because right now we're kind of, we can't do that as a city.
Well, like what?
And I keep hearing that, and I keep trying to find an example. And
yeah,
I can't think of one off the top of my head.
I'm just telling. I mean, as a former mayor, I look at it, and the county can do what the county can do, and
right.
And it's the state that governs of our kind of current kind of city,
right?
And so we're regulated by state. But the good thing about it is it's the city council, and so city council members are held accountable. You have a city manager. Mm-hmm. You can't really blame the city councilman. Now, home rule, okay, so I'll give you a benefit of home rule. Home rule is members of city council are elected by precinct. So then you divide the city. Currently, members of council are at large.
At large, yes.
Now you can have people who represent, let's say, the Sonoma Verde area versus, and some of us who live in more rural area will have a representative. So that would, to me, be a benefit.
So we're looking at what, 3C to 3D? And there's also parts of 2, right? Because that's part of Heath.
Why they would have their own.
Oh, they would have their own. That's right.
Yeah. It's a municipality, so we'd have our own boundaries. But I mean, that's a benefit. Another benefit is you can have term limits. But I look at term limits from a city government as, everyone always says we do have term limits. They're called elections. I don't believe that. I don't agree with it especially when you're talking about federal, state offices. But when you're talking about a local race, I would say that that's more true than not. So
Well, still, I mean, we just had one of the highest percentages on turnouts.
Yes, we did.
It was 29.2%.
good point. That's a great point. Absolutely. Right. Yeah. So I guess we'll see. But Mr. Easter, congratulations on
Yes.
On joining the city council, and so let's just breeze over a couple of other races. One that I was just I can't believe Kelson Elam is no longer mayor of Heath. Kelson is one of those guys who he's a true believer. He's a true conservative, and I know nothing about Jeremiah.
I don't know either of them.
Yeah.
Never. I mean, I think I've met Kelson once or twice.
Yeah.
But I couldn't pick him out of a lineup.
I've met with, I think, Kelson maybe once.
Okay.
In my entire, but so I saw him at a political event. So I talked to him at political events. But apart from that, I've watched him from afar, and I've watched his actions, and I felt like, man, he has represented Heath so well. So I hope that Jeremiah will live up to that. And then Ryan Moorman, that's a new person, and Scott Dodson. So yeah, those are. I guess we're going to learn a little bit, and hopefully I can grab one or two of these guys to come in and talk about.
I'm sure they will.
Yeah, what's on their agenda. And then we moved to the city of Fate. Now, you know a little bit about this race.
Yeah, we were working with Cody Chin and Mark Hatley.
Okay.
And Cody, I mean, she, excuse me, a lot of people joke about people with, studied political science or have political degrees and what have you. And she's one of those that does it. But, like, well, what did you do with it? Well, she's a hairdresser. Yeah. Okay. But you know what? That is one smart woman. I don't care if people are thrown by the red hair or the way she talks or whatever.
How does she talk?
Well, she's out of Houston. She's got a pretty thick accent. But she also and
I'm from Houston, so that's terrible.
Well, no.
No, I agree. I mean, there's nothing good out of Houston.
But she has, and God bless her, and I love her for this.
Yeah.
She has a tiny filter.
Yeah. And
sometimes there are things that never hit the filter because she just says it the way it is.
I love
it.
And
I love her for it.
Yeah.
I really do.
Yeah.
She'll sit there and she'll tell you. She'll be like, all right, listen up, y'all. Here's the deal. And she just, boom. And I'm telling you, she was kind of a surprise to a lot of folks when they met her.
Okay.
Because literally, they do judge the book by the cover.
Yeah.
But she is on top of what's going on. She and her husband and a few others got involved with some of what was happening.
No, wait a minute. Is she in a runoff, or is it first?
She's in a runoff.
She is in a runoff. Yeah,
by
I just
four
realized
votes.
that.
She would have won outright if 4 people. So when y'all are saying my vote doesn't matter,
count.
it matters because 4 votes.
Wow.
4
holy moly
votes. Yep.
Okay.
And so she's running against Cinnamon.
Cinnamon, okay.
Right.
Do you know anything about Cinnamon or Heather?
So now we have a Republican versus a Democrat.
Is Cinnamon a Democrat?
She is.
Okay.
And here's the thing, Fate. If y'all weren't paying attention, Mark Hatley, the Republican, beat out 2 Democrats.
Interesting.
Okay. And when you start looking at the makeup, because they say, oh, well, city council, this is nonpartisan.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We're nonpartisan.
Right.
Well, look at how the nonpartisan has impacted your city.
Boy, isn't that true?
You've got the city council out there in Fate who wants to do what do they call it? A strong city. Oh. That 15-minute, walkable. You ride your bike around. Nobody needs to worry about driving and parking because you can live where you work where you live.
Oh boy.
Build up that strong city perspective. I'm gonna tell you right now. I saw that stuff. It was attempted in California, and it failed.
Yeah.
And no, people can live where they work and work where they live, and it's great. Okay, you know what? That barista working at the coffee shop,
right?
That barista, no, they can't afford to live in the apartment above there.
Right.
They can't afford the condo above there. They can't afford the one down the street. They're going to have to drive in from a neighboring town.
Exactly.
And now there's that congestion that you were trying to eliminate and avoid.
That's a great point.
So I kept hearing this, and I kept talking to people about it, and they would say, oh, well, these strong cities. And I'm like, they are bad. They won't work.
Yeah.
Developers love them because you no longer.
I'm sure they do.
Well, you're no longer talking about developing out. You're developing up.
Yeah.
Right. So this is a great idea. Oh, you can get all that. No, you really can't.
No, that's a great
It builds
point.
up the commerce, and that's a good thing, right? Because it's more taxable revenue for the city and what
Exactly.
have you, right?
Exactly.
And I think cities should focus a bit more on the commercial perspective instead on the residential. Oh, we're growing. Okay, yeah, well, you're building community after community, home after home. Where are these people spending their money? Because eventually, if all you're doing is bringing money in through building permits and through assessments and through all this other stuff, when you stop building because you have no place left to build, you're going to need that commercial.
Yeah.
You need that business.
Yeah. Yeah.
And,
Well, you're right.
What was the biggest thing that happened in McLennan Chisholm? Was the Sonic and the Shell Station?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. You're right.
It's still the
Right.
number one,
Yeah.
and they're talking about another one that's going to be coming up.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's supposed to be a shopping center or a food market, right? Or
Something like that.
something
Yeah,
like
and
that.
that's same intersection.
Yeah, same one. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's been in the. Is it Brookshire's? Do you know?
Oh, I think you're right.
I don't know, but
I would have loved a Trader Joe's.
Yeah. Yeah, and I've never been to Trader Joe's, so I wouldn't know.
Yeah.
But okay, all right. Well, that's
Sorry, we kind of went off the rails.
no, it's cool. So that's the City of Fate, and then we moved to the RISD races, and these are you had two that were uncontested, and Mr. Dubois and Ed Conger. Now, these two guys, what was neat about them, I talked to Ed Conger on election day, and he had nice things to say about Ed. I mean,
Yeah.
he wasn't. It was a good race all around, and
No hostility, no animosity, nothing negative about either one.
yeah. So and I do, in their defense, in the member of RISDs who endorsed Adrian.
Mm-hmm.
Adrian has been active with RISD and has given a lot of support and things like that. And so, in their defense, I don't think that they were endorsing her so much because they had knowledge of the mayoral race or our city council, but because she was such a supporter of them. I'm
Right.
assuming. I'm giving benefit of the doubt.
Sure.
But that said, congratulations to Ed.
Grant.
To Grant. Sorry, thank you. To Grant Dubois.
I like them both, and
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
But I think they both offered a lot of great leadership potential and opportunity, and
Yeah, I think that they will both do a good job
Yeah.
for sure. So we really kind of went through this whole thing was all about the recent elections. We won't have time to talk about the platform, but so let's save maybe next week. Let's do a thing on platform. We got a lot to talk about there, but let's talk about the Katrina race. My prediction is that she's going to win big. I think there is more. There's whenever I think it's 93% of those incumbents who get into a runoff lose, because there's just, if you get in a runoff as an incumbent, you are facing an insurmountable opposition to what you're doing, and I think that's what's happened here.
right. Well, and also when the incumbent has a lower voter total than one of the challengers,
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah,
then it's an even greater hurdle to overcome.
yeah,
So regardless of whether or not I had endorsed Katrina, because I'll tell you right now, a third of the people that voted for me automatically shifted over to Katrina.
sure.
A third of them were in that I don't know, and a third of them were like, I don't trust her, I don't trust him, I'm not voting.
Oh boy.
And then of course there are some that were just like, I have no idea who she is or where she's from. So, and they are voting for Holland. And I was just like, okay.
Well, to your credit, I mean, you spent the last 4 years running for state rep, and to your
Almost.
credit, what?
Almost 4.
So is it? Well, it's 2 races, right? It lasts 2 years ago. I'm sorry, did I say 4 years? Yeah, I guess
it's 3. So
It's
3
been 3 years. Okay, but you've been steadfast, and to your credit, you came out with, I think, one of, and I wish I would have pulled it up. I should have, but one of the most magnanimous endorsements that I have read in a long time, and you gave for your full-throated endorsement, and I think that was that says a lot about you and your character. So
I appreciate that.
Well, I think you did it for the right reasons.
Well, again, I mean, we've talked about it. It's not about me.
Yeah.
Right. You know, the story, the election, the position, everything about this, it's about Texas.
Yeah.
It's about and if Texas goes and it falls and it goes to the left, what happens to the rest of the country?
No, you're right.
I mean, look at our electoral votes.
Yep.
How much of an impact does Texas have on this country? You know, we're the second largest state. Actually, I think we're probably the largest state. We probably have passed California based on the numbers of people.
Oh, yeah.
You know, but that's also, you know, according to the census, it was what, a 2 million person difference, I think, or something like that. We were just less than.
Okay, I didn't know that.
But with the border, you know, the porousness of our border, yeah, we probably surpassed them, and it's still not being reported properly. But who knows?
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So there is a lot at stake with all of this, and the potential for what's happening in our House now or going to happen based off of these upcoming elections. I mean, you got to think about that. When was the last time you've ever heard of 20 plus seats in one party being shifted?
Oh,
and I mean, not flipped, you know, Republican, Democrat, Republican. I'm talking about shifted from, you know, whether it was moderately conservative, somewhat conservative, liberal conservative, or what have you, to grassroots. You know, I don't think we've ever seen this number.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, there were what, 7 that were defeated outright. Another, what was it? It was 5 or 7 that said they weren't running again. Then there was 9 that were defeated outright, and 11 that are now in runoffs.
And one of them being Dade Phelan.
Yes.
That race, I think, is the most fun to watch.
Oh,
of all.
and Covey is knocking it out of the park. I'm telling you, because he's getting so much support from all over Texas.
Yeah.
Busloads of people are going down there. They're knocking doors. They're all out there for him.
Yeah.
And, you know, if you think about what happens in Beaumont, right? I mean, Phelan's family historically, and you know this.
Yeah,
right?
I'm a Steinhagen, so yeah. That's where Steinhagen oil is, and yeah, I'm very. So, yeah. That's where my family's from.
And to have someone challenge, I'll say a historical portion of that.
Yes.
And to be coming out ahead, wow, you know. But I think it also leads us to understanding what's happened within our political structure here in Texas. People are starting to wake up.
I agree.
You know,
I would agree.
I called COVID the great revealer. You know, the whole pandemic aspect to this thing opened the eyes of so many people, especially the parents, because, you know, our schools are great. Our schools are fine. I mean, you heard Justin say during the GOP forum, our schools aren't woke. Have you talked to any of the kids?
Yeah.
You know, and because when I was knocking on doors and there were parents and there were kids like, who's that? Oh, it's this guy running for state rep, Dennis London. Oh, so wait, he's challenging, you know, the other guy. Yeah. Oh, well, I want to talk to him. I had high schoolers coming out talking to me.
Wow.
Do you know this is happening in our school? Do you know we have furries? Do you know that they have this? Do you know that they have? I was like, what? You know, and in the beginning, I didn't understand it. So now I used it as part of the campaign. I would talk to people. I'd say, hey, did you know that our schools have that? No. And I go, well, do you have a high schooler? Yeah, go ask him.
You're saying they have furries at so this is something I learned about because my daughter did a report on it because she goes to private school, but she did it more of a joke. But she asked me, "Do I know what a furry is?" I said, "I have no idea." And so she showed me her presentation. I said, "Campbell, I think that's a little. I think you're way off, but right. I mean, I think it's funny and everything like that." Well, I went to a men's retreat probably 3 weeks after that, and I'm talking to one of the guys. There's a Christian men's retreat, and one of the guys is saying that in his sister's school in Austin, they have a litter box in the bathroom.
Yep,
and that's
how
knew.
Far they identify.
Wow,
it's ridiculous.
Wow,
yeah.
That's insane.
And you wouldn't even think that. I mean, people, we used to, in IT, right? In IT security, I would joke with people about how some of these hackers, you know, they are so in tune to what they're doing that they wouldn't take the few minutes to leave their computer to go to the restroom, that they would have litter boxes next to their computers. And this is known in the hacker community. This is what some of these guys and gals would do, just so that they could be right there by their computer in order to strike while the iron's hot, or to respond, reply, or they were working on code and they needed to fix something. So that they would do that. And, we used to joke about it and be like, oh man, they probably got a litter box. Yeah. And now here it is in our schools.
Oh my gosh.
But I tell people, I'm like, ask. Oh, so here's something. Okay. All right. Think about this, right? Our schools. Have you ever looked up, from the Texas education perspective, the Rockwall ISD school systems, and looked at the incidents of bullying and cyberbullying?
No, I have not.
I did.
Okay.
It says we have none.
Okay.
0 incidents events for the past, I think it was 4+ years.
Wow.
0.
Wow.
But yet when I talk to high schoolers and I talk to kids and parents, I had parents that came to me during my campaign, and they would say, my daughter is being bullied. I said, well, did you report it? Yes. Well, who was it reported to? School administration. Did they take all the paperwork? They do everything else? Yes. But once they use the paperwork that has the B word, says bullying, they're supposed to report it. But they don't. So we have school administrators who aren't actually reporting these incidents the way they're supposed to. So according to the state, we got 0 incidents.
Wow. I wonder, have you talked to any of the board, RISD board members?
No, they won't talk to me.
Huh? They don't talk.
No.
Okay. We'll get some of them on here.
I'm sure.
And
Scott Dodson, having him come on.
Yeah.
Over in Fate, and having, city council members, right? We'll talk to city council members.
Okay.
Right. So we'll talk there. And then we'll say, okay, we're going to also talk with ISD. So now I'm going to talk with Grant. I'm going to talk with, I'm going to reach back out to Sherry Packer.
Okay.
All right. Now, maybe she didn't want to talk to me before because I was actually helping people run against her.
Oh, okay.
Okay. I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe Amy Hilton will want to talk.
Yeah.
I don't know, or what's her name? Durham.
Yeah. Is she not on anymore?
Oh no.
Didn't she jump off?
Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. Linda Duran.
Yeah.
I think that she didn't run again.
Okay.
That's my understanding. Maybe I'm wrong, but Frank Councilman, he's.
I think I've met him once.
Yeah, I think he's pretty approachable. I know Amy Hilton is.
I'll reach out to these folks again. Because the bullying aspect is huge.
Yeah.
Because especially now with cyberbullying. I used to give the cybersecurity for kids presentation, and I've given it worldwide. I've given it in London. I've given it down in South America. I've given it in all different states throughout this country. I've given it in Canada. But I'd love to give it here in Rockwall.
Boy, I think so. I'd like for you to as well. So, this has been a great conversation. I'm glad. Congratulations to our newly elected members of city councils and our RISD. And I hope. Dennis, you're a wealth of knowledge as well. Your ear is to the grind, is to the track, I guess. So you know what's going on, and that's really helpful. So maybe next week we can focus on party platform. Great representative for you and me on at the state convention. I'll be there, broadcasting from there live. And probably do some stuff with Dennis along the way while we're there in San Antonio. So
I hear your bumper music, but I'm going to go ahead and hand you this before we close out.
What is it?
That is a playing deck of cards called the House of Bad Cards.
House of Bad Cards. Okay.
Yeah, put out by Grassroots America, We the People.
Okay. All right.
Take a look through there, and we can talk about them next week if you want.
All right. Well, I'll definitely do that because definitely let's talk about that. That's cool. I like that. Dennis, thanks again for being here.
Absolutely.
And thank you for showing up today. And I hope this has been helpful for you. Be sure to come back when Dennis is back because we're going to be talking about the platform and what makes Republicans so great and what makes us so unique. So until next time, I look forward to seeing you again. You have a blessed day, and we will see you next time. Blessings to you all.